Hi everyone, Coach Mo here. Thank you for joining me. This is a brand new series that I'm starting. I wanted to find a way to connect with my readers more often, and I decided to create your Monday Mojo. Okay, and why Mojo? Well, we all need a little bit of energy on Monday morning, maybe a little bit of information that could be helpful to us as professionals, as leaders, and I want to be able to do that for all of you. Now, if you know me really well, you know that I like my Joe. I love my coffee. So every Monday, I'm inviting you to have your cup of Joe with me, Mo, and learn something new that could be beneficial to you on your leadership track. So, um, these videos, moving forward, I'm going to try really hard to make them nice and short because I know that our time is limited as leaders. And if you're like me, you're grabbing information on the go all the time, podcasts in the car, ebooks, little snippets of articles. And that's how we learn and continue to grow as professionals. Over these next 34 weeks, I want to concentrate on strengths, the discussion of strengths and talent. That is the majority of work that I'm called to do by teams and organizations because it's such an effective way to create a language that everyone can understand. What are we good at? What are we naturally great at? And if we all understood that about each other, what an incredible workplace we could create, a workplace of high productivity, of high energy and motivation, and mostly of success. You know, at the end of the day, we're here in work to make things happen, to reach our goals, and to be successful. And one of the tools that can effectively help us do that in a way that engages teams and have them working really well together is this idea of understanding our talents and making them into strengths over time by clearly understanding what they mean for us, using our skill to develop them further, building more knowledge around them, sharing your talents with others, having conversations so that they can learn what these talents mean to you, not only the balcony side of the talents, which are when we're at our best and they're more mature, right? A mature development of our talents, but also what they look like very raw, right? When we're real, when we're in the moment, when maybe we're a little impulsive and a little reactive, and the talent doesn't affect change perhaps the way we want to. These are things that we want to understand, and then we want those individuals who work with us to know about us. They should know how we are in our raw state and in our high peak performance mature state. Okay, so every week for 34 weeks, I'm going to cover one of the talents and just give you the quick and dirty about the talent. Gallup is a fantastic organization. They have so many resources online. If you want to dive really deep into these talents, I encourage you to go to their YouTube channel. And I think almost every week they have something called Theme Thursday. And they focus on each theme for like an hour. And they get really deep with it. And I love those videos, and I know that you will too. So there's tons of resources out there. I can certainly share more resources with you as well. But I thought that just to start, to give you something quick to learn on a Monday morning, that I'm just going to give you the highlights of each of these talents. So what do you need to know? There are 34 talent themes, right? That means that what we do naturally has some sort of a definition, and we're giving a broad definition through this theme of talent, okay? But it doesn't necessarily become a strength until we are seeing success and achievement through the use of that talent on a consistent basis, right? So the goal is to not only understand what our talents are, but to really leverage them and put them to work every day so that we are working at our best and people see it and feel it. So when we talk about leadership, we talk about the four domains of leadership that these talent themes are a part of. Okay, and I know it's kind of hard to see and you're probably reading it backwards, but just to show you, there are 4 dimensions, right? How we make things happen. We call that the domain of executing, right? So executing, how we influence others, right? How do we bring them on board and get their buy-in? That's the domain of influencing. Obviously, relationship building is a critical talent that many of us have to have as leaders, but some of us are stronger at it than others, right? So relationship building is also a domain of leadership. And then finally, strategic thinking, which of course is very important in any organization, any business. So I'm going to start today by covering executing, and I'm just going to go in order, right? So the first talent on that list is achiever. And you don't need to guess what achiever means, right? Someone with high achiever needs to be achieving, right? But they don't need to achieve for recognition or reward. It's just something innate in them that when they wake up every morning, their clock is at 0. 0. I achieved yesterday, today I'm at 0, and now I need to get to that finish line, right? And so a person with high achiever, they have a great deal of stamina and they work hard. They want to work, right? And so sometimes they can seem like overachievers, and maybe people have a perception that all they care about is work, which is not necessarily the truth. It's just that in order for them to feel productive and happy and to find success, they need to be achieving. Okay, and again, not for the reward. It's so that they can check something off their list that was meaningful for them that day. Okay, so they take a lot of satisfaction in being busy and in being productive. They say yes to taking on more work, right? So this is great for leaders that really have a lot of projects that need to be worked on quickly and taken to that finish line, right? Deadline driven. You want someone who has achiever, perhaps, to be on that task and to help bring others through to that finish line, because they are the pace setters for their team. Okay? They enjoy making to-do lists, as you can imagine, and they enjoy even more checking off those to-do lists. Okay? So an achiever wants to get things done. Okay? And they have that strong inner drive. So that's just some basic information about an achiever. Let's look a little bit deeper here and talk about who they are. They are a hard worker. What do they like to do? Set the pace for production. What do they bring? They bring their intensity and their stamina, their effort to everything that they do. What do they need? They need freedom, okay, to work at their own pace. That's my doggy back there, Ocean. And what do they love? They love completing tasks. What do they hate? They hate a lack of diligence. Okay, so in teams, this is very important. It would be very important for team members of someone with achievement to know that if they're not diligent, they're going to be frustrated. Okay, but if we know these things, then we can operate as a team more effectively and communicate with each other about that and help each other also reduce that intensity sometimes. And the barrier label, the barrier label is something that the negative part of the talent, perhaps if it's overused or how people can perceive it sometimes. And the barrier label for achiever, there are many, but the critical one is that work is more important than people. So if you have achiever, you want to be aware that people may be thinking that, especially back home, your family members, right? Because maybe you're working a whole lot of hours and they're wondering what's more important. Are your priorities in line? Okay, so these are things that are critical for you to think of. Now, with many of these talents, they become stronger and they rise up in order of importance based on our lives, based on what we're working on, based on what's important to us. And I say that because one of the questions that I get is when I take StrengthsFinder, I took it once, I took it 5 years later, and my talents were different, minus one or two. And although that's not what always happens, in fact, usually our top five don't change very much. For some people, when you have a huge transition in your life, or you've done a 360, you used to be the CEO of a company and now you're a gardener. That's an extreme example, but that's an idea. Maybe if you had achiever as your number one, achieving wouldn't be so important anymore to you if you spent most of your time out in the garden planting. Okay, so understand that we can leverage our talents based on our goals and our ambitions and our intentions. I used to have achiever as number two, and now it's in my top 10, but it's not as high as it used to be because my career did shift and my priorities changed. And now I focus more on my learning about others as a coach, maximizing their talents and strengths, individualization, really understanding what makes them tick, what makes them work, and helping that put that energy forward in their lives, etc., etc. So understand that about your talents, that you have many. And if you're interested, for those of you who haven't taken StrengthsFinder, you could take the top five assessment and get your top five for only $15. And for those of you who want to go deeper and see your top 12 and even see the ones that are on the bottom, which gives you a clue as to what your weaknesses are, what you should not be spending your time doing, because it's going to cause disengagement. It's going to cause lack of motivation, lack of energy. You know, we want to understand what those weaknesses are so that we can bring partners into our lives and into our teams to help us manage those weaknesses. Okay, so I hope that this was helpful. This video is longer than it will be. Every Monday, I'm aiming to have this video, your Monday Mojo, be less than 5 minutes or less, just a snippet of information to keep our knowledge growing. And I want to thank you for being on my list, for reading my blogs, and hopefully I've been able to provide great information to you over time. And I want to invite you to stay connected with me. And I have programs coming up soon that you may want to be aware of. So have a wonderful Monday. Enjoy your cup of Joe, and I'll see you next week.